Overnight, 2 large oil refineries were burning in Sizran, in the Samara region. A key oil refining unit with a capacity of about 9 million tons per year was hit. Our defense forces also confirm a successful strike on the Iltsky oil refinery in the Krasnodar region, which has a capacity of nearly 7 million tons of oil per year. The Russian authorities also acknowledged the successful Ukrainian attack on the Iltsky oil refinery. The occupiers also have fewer military locations in the Black Sea area. There, Ukrainian drones hit the Sabotage drilling rig, where the enemy had equipment to strike our cities in the south with Shahed drones. Elite units of Russian special forces were stationed on the drilling rig, and weapons, portable missile systems, and equipment for countering Ukrainian aerial and naval drones were stored there.
Well, in the Black and Azov Seas, our drones have hit 218 enemy vessels since July 6th, and traffic through the Kerch Strait has remained blocked for 30 days now.
In the footage released by the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces of Ukraine, you can see a Russian patrol boat trying to intercept a Ukrainian drone. It launches as many as 3 missiles at it. But despite this, our drone successfully strikes the enemy vessel. Sea and ground drones are bringing the return of Crimea to Ukraine closer. Step by step, our military is liberating the peninsula from enemy equipment.
And a key detail, the occupiers' route is now under the fire control of the armed forces of Ukraine. So what is happening in Crimea right now? Alvina Saitalieva found this out.
A naval parade off the Crimean coast.
We're going to the sea, not to Turkey or Egypt, but our destination is the UDC.
Such a celebration near the southern coast of the occupied peninsula was organized by operators of the GRU Special Unit Group 13. There, the Special Forces marked an old festive tradition of holding a naval parade for Yalta Day. And this is also another reminder to the Russians, Crimea is Ukraine. At the same time, explosions are heard almost daily near these very shores. The day before, local residents heard them again. This is also the work of Ukrainian soldiers. The port was under attack. A fire was burning. That's probably the beach burning. The defense forces of Ukraine keep Crimea under fire control and the occupiers on edge. Our soldiers continue to systematically push the enemy fleet out of the Black Sea waters and force the Russians to hide the remnants of their ships far away from the Crimean coast.
A naval parade was demonstrated off the coast of Yalta. The parade was led by a Ukrainian naval drone. Whether these two cases are connected, I cannot confirm or deny at this moment. But as a rule, there are no coincidences in such situations. Our presence in Crimea has always been felt there. It consists in the fact that because of our presence, the Russian fleet is absent there.
Kerch is also in the crosshairs of Ukrainian drones. Although the Russians are trying to guard it tightly, they cannot escape our birds. Ukrainian drones attacked 2 FSB Coast Guard ships, the Balaklava and the Kerch.
They consider themselves more or less protected there, specifically with those barges and barriers they set up under the bridge, because it's much harder to reach that area with sea drones. But as you can see, there is also the airspace, and therefore, accordingly, these ships sustain damage.
Our drones are also not leaving the Russian shadow fleet unattended. Just in the last week, unmanned systems forces hit 12 enemy vessels as part of Operation Milk. The occupiers' key land route to Crimea is also under the fire control of the armed forces of Ukraine. We are talking about the section from Mariupol to Chongar. Russian troops use it as a corridor to Crimea. They transport ammunition, military equipment, and fuel.
This significantly limits their offensive capabilities, particularly in the south of Ukraine.
The Russian military is experiencing a fuel shortage, but they are trying to find a way out. They're bringing in gasoline from mainland Russia.
It is known that they are disguising fuel tankers and military trucks as civilian vehicles, which has a certain effect since the Ukrainian Defense Forces strike exclusively at military targets and not at civilian residents. The Russians continue to build up the component of such small-scale air defense, which in particular includes small seaplanes.
along with logistics, oil refineries, oil depots, power plants, enemy missile launchers, and ammunition depots are under 24/7 surveillance. This is how, for example, one of them was burning yesterday at the Gvardeyskoye airfield. Large-scale power outages and fuel shortages are forcing the Russian army to adjust its plans on the front line. Without gasoline and electricity, the enemy's losing the ability to advance. Elvina Saitalaeva, Ukraine, United News Marathon.
Well, next we'll tell you about the Martian. That's what the Russians dubbed the American Kamikaze drone that is successfully cutting their logistics.
Its main feature is the high autonomy of its target detection and acquisition algorithms. It is independent of satellite navigation and, well, almost invulnerable to Russian electronic warfare.
The first journalist to see this legendary drone in action on the Dnipro front was our own Tatiana Savuya. See for yourself.
This Hornet Kamikaze drone appeared on the front lines less than a year ago, and it has already become a real headache for the Russians. It is resistant to electronic warfare and can navigate using terrain imagery, not just GPS. It strikes accurately and frequently, giving the occupier no time to hide. A fighter with the call sign Surfin, August, jokes thanks to the Hornet, he has already visited temporarily occupied Crimea twice and left souvenirs for the Russians to remember him by.
With this drone, we strike the enemy's logistics and their air defense assets, let's put it that way. We usually see the results immediately because we work with adjacent units to help us. The scout catches an enemy asset, we fly there, and he just keeps it in the camera, and we strike it. So we see the explosion immediately. We see what damage we've inflicted, and we're very happy at that moment. The results are effective, yes, that's 100%. I personally really like this asset precisely because it delivers results.
The Hornet is capable of flying hundreds of kilometers, so it is perfectly suited for striking logistics deep in the occupier's rear. We will see this for ourselves very soon. This is the first time the Hornet strike operations will be shown to journalists in real time. But first, flight preparation. The crew members of the 426th Separate Unmanned Systems Regiment are securing the catapult. Next, they attach the drone to it.
I think this is the best weapon that exists right now, and it has many advantages because, well, people are working with it. And it works pretty well, in principle. Well, what else? We have to win, no matter what. Everything will be Ukraine. Together to victory.
The Hornet has been used here in the Pridniprovsky direction only recently. The crew consists of a pilot, a navigator, and 2 spotters. That is, those who assembled the aircraft and prepared the launch site.
We have a certain protocol that we have to adhere to so that we stay safe. This is the first thing, so that the spotter team stays safe and so that our drone takes off just the way we need it to.
The drone is light and quiet, it's hard to detect, and even harder to shoot down, so its accuracy is almost 100%. And so, the coordinates of the enemy are sent to the defenders. The drone takes to the sky. The pilot and navigator don't take their eyes off the screen. The current target is an enemy military vehicle that is speeding down the highway right now.
Come on. There they are. Look, the barrel's sticking out. Come on, get him. Come on. Nice one.
Destroyed along with the crew. And there will be even more strikes like this, the military says, in different sectors. Just in May of this year, Hornets were spotted in Donetsk, Mariupol, as well as on the routes of the Russian so-called land corridor to the temporarily occupied Crimea. Tatiana Savuya, We Are Ukraine, United News Marathon.
Well, and now we're all waiting for Ukraine to have its own anti-ballistic missile system any moment now. The company Firepoint has completed the first stage of developing the Freya Unified European Missile Defense System. The Ukrainian fluorine monophosphide 7 Interceptor missile could move to mass production as early as August.
And Firepoint plans to carry out the first interception of Russian ballistic missiles with it by the middle of next year. 13 European defense companies have already joined the project, and their number could grow to 20. Freya involves combining the Ukrainian missile with European radars, optoelectronic systems, and other components. And right now, all of this is being brought together, and our ballistic fluorine monophosphide 7 is undergoing certification by the Ministry of Defense.
Well, and the key thing here is that Freya can intercept ballistic missiles significantly cheaper than American Patriots, and on top of that, it's domestically produced. What other missiles might we see soon? Victoria Yarishko has the details on all of this.
Domestic ballistic weapons and an anti-ballistic system are among Ukraine's key priorities. They plan to achieve the necessary results in these areas by 2026 to 2027.
Ukraine is capable of making its own missile and launcher. Partners will provide the necessary components and critical elements, radars, sensors, and other things that are needed. Tests have shown good prospects. We need to make this a real weapon.
And there are already some significant results. One of them is the Ukrainian fluorine monophosphide 7 ballistic missile from the company Firepoint. The missile has already undergone about 15 test launches and is currently undergoing certification by the Ministry of Defense. The first combat use of the fluorine monophosphide 7 is expected as early as the beginning of autumn.
We are talking about a so-called tactical missile, which is used for a range of about 200 kilometers. We are talking about a warhead of about 150 kilograms, The flight speed of the missile is 1,500 meters per second. The stated accuracy is about 14 meters. So in general, we are talking about a certain analog of a missile of the HIMARS type.
The fluorine monophosphide 7 is launched from a ground platform and can strike enemy equipment and logistics. And a faster version of this missile, the fluorine monophosphide 7X, will be able to intercept Russian ballistics as well.
It is estimated that this missile, potentially, it is claimed that it will be capable of intercepting aerial targets at altitudes of up to 20 to 25 kilometers, which generally places it in the class of missiles such as the PAC-3 missiles of the Patriot system, or missiles of the S-400 type for the Soviet S-400 systems.
And at the end of autumn, they are planning the first combat launch of an even more powerful ballistic missile, the fluorine monophosphide 9. Its warhead is 800 kilograms, and it'll be able to reach as far as Moscow. Besides this, Ukraine has already tested another one of its own ballistic missiles. According to former Defense Minister Fedorov, it hit the target precisely without any deviations, and now it's only necessary to complete the testing and launch production. The name has remained a secret, but it is likely referring to a projectile for the Sapsan missile system, which was developed by the Yuzhnoye State Design Office. The emergence of our own ballistic missiles will significantly strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities, as such weapons will be able to not only strike deep into the enemy's rear, but also allow for the destruction of Russian ballistic missile launchers.
And this could, to some extent, push Russian tactical systems away from the borders with Ukraine. And in fact, if not reducing the number of missile attacks, it would at least increase the flight time of Russian ballistic missiles and the range of their impact on Ukrainian territory.
In parallel, Ukraine is the initiator of the joint European anti-ballistic system, Freya. 10 countries have already joined it, and others will be joining as well.
Any European defense company wants to be involved in such a project because it's knowledge, it's capital that can later be monetized by offering it to other countries.
The development program for Ukrainian ballistic weaponry, as well as anti-aircraft and anti-missile weaponry, they were completed in a very, very short period of time. And as of today, regarding all these positions, we are already reaching the final stages before serial production.
To have a strategic impact on the situation on the battlefield, Ukraine must produce at least several dozen to 100 missiles per month, experts say. But that'll depend on the suppliers of the components.
Because the suppliers of this manufacturer will be able to produce inertial navigation systems, homing heads, and the key component, which is the solid fuel engine for the Interceptor missile itself.
So even though Ukraine is working intensively on its own ballistics and anti-ballistics, it still cannot do without the help of partners for now.
Without receiving the appropriate anti-missiles from partners, unfortunately Ukraine will not be able to fend off Russian ballistics during this winter period.
We desperately need Patriot interceptors right now, and that is why President Zelensky is awaiting the results of negotiations regarding PAC-2 and PAC-3 missiles. Victoria Yarishko, We Ukraine, United News Marathon.
Ukraine has an agreement with the United States on the monthly allocation of interceptor missiles for Patriot systems, but this is not enough, says the president. The biggest problem for Kyiv right now is specifically Russian ballistics, and Ukraine is solving this problem, in particular by engaging other countries that have such stockpiles.
The Germans have them, the Poles have them. These are the ones who can seriously help. As for other countries, we are constantly working with both the Nordics and the Netherlands. They are helping a little bit. I won't say how or how many of these missiles. Every day I communicate with one European or Middle Eastern state or another so that Ukraine can receive support outside of the American package.
Ukraine and the States are also working on modernizing Soviet missiles for S-300 systems. And there may also be talk of creating new ammunition with improved characteristics. This was stated by retired U.S. Army Colonel Robert Hamilton. According to him, the modernized version could be ready by the end of 2026, with production reaching several hundred missiles per year. It is expected that such a development will, in the long term, help to partially compensate for the shortage of interceptor missiles for Patriot systems and strengthen Ukrainian air defense.
Russia may use captured Ukrainian drones to attack critical infrastructure in the Baltic states, warns Lithuanian intelligence. Moscow intends to launch them in order to further deny its own involvement in strikes on the territory of NATO countries.
At the same time, Germany is currently looking for a Russian connection in the incident involving a drone near a Ukrainian Antonov cargo plane. Among the possible scenarios is an attempt by Russia to attack Ukrainian equipment on German territory. How exactly is the Kremlin destabilizing the situation in Europe? Olena Huntereka.
The restricted cargo area of Leipzig Airport, just meters away from the Ukrainian giant An-124 Ruslan, a drone with an attached explosive device was discovered. The UAV, which was flying at a low altitude, was spotted by a bus driver who kicked it down. An explosion was avoided due to a faulty detonator. The device was neutralized with the help of a bomb disposal robot. Later, another aircraft collided with a reconnaissance drone, which was likely intended to film the attack on the Ukrainian An.
An unidentified flying object was spotted near the Ukrainian aircraft. Around the same time, an object was found on the southern runway that could not be identified initially.
Leipzig Airport, one of the largest airports in Europe. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the Antonov company has moved several of its transport giants there. It is building hangars for maintenance here. The Antonov 124 transports heavy and oversized cargo, including for NATO countries. According to German publications, the Ukrainian plane had just been transporting ammunition from France in an eastward direction, but returned to Leipzig empty. The Wall Street Journal, citing U.S. intelligence, reports that the drone that managed to bypass the airport's defense systems belonged to a Russian intelligence agency. This incident is already being called the beginning of a new, more brazen phase of Russia's hybrid war against the West.
The threat from drones, particularly in a hybrid context, is something we've encountered before. But a drone armed with explosives at an airport is a new threat scenario. I do not rule out that we are dealing with interference from foreign states, and this is part of the hybrid threat we are experiencing today.
This is not the first incident at a German logistics hub. Previously, a package caught fire here that hadn't yet been loaded onto a DHL plane. This incident was also linked to Moscow. While drones have previously flown into European airports and other infrastructure facilities, drones with explosives deep inside Europe, far from the Ukrainian border, are the first known case.
First of all, a drone with explosives is a completely different situation, both for German law enforcement agencies and for the country's political leadership. This is most advantageous for Russia since these are Ukrainian planes. This whole story has shown that the Germans are not yet ready to protect their airports the way it should be done. The detection system, that is, the system that was supposed to provide a warning, did not detect this drone.
Where the drones came from and who was controlling them are questions that remain unanswered for now. But the number of such incidents in Germany will only grow, stated the CEO of the defense conglomerate Rheinmetall. Armin Papriger urged the country to more actively protect its strategic facilities. Lithuanian intelligence is warning about a new escalation. In addition to its own drones, Russia is preparing provocations in Europe by using captured Ukrainian UAVs.
We will see a hybrid escalation from Russia, primarily against Poland, or perhaps against Romania and the Baltic states as well. I don't rule out that it will be specifically using Ukrainian drones, and this will be a continuation of this tactic. What for? To make them refuse to help Ukraine to some extent. Europeans will say, let's pause. Let's ensure our skies are protected.
And an unknown drone exploded near a gas pipeline in Bulgaria. The drone flew in from the direction of Romania, and the Wall Street Journal reports U.S. intelligence suggests that Putin could attack a NATO country as early as this autumn without waiting for the war in Ukraine to end. The Kremlin is considering various scenarios. Among them are cyber attacks, sabotage, and, less likely, a limited ground invasion. Following the incident in Leipzig, a mobile anti-drone system was deployed at the German airfield. Ukraine had previously offered NATO its unique experience in creating such interception groups because a drone with explosives at a European airfield showed that air defense systems designed for large missiles and fighter jets are ineffective against low-flying FPV drones. Elena Hunchikarenko, We Are Ukraine, United News Marathon.
Due to the intensification of attacks on Ukraine's civilian population and infrastructure, the European Union has imposed sanctions against 5 Russians. These are the heads of enterprises associated with the production of Iskander-M and Sarmat missiles, as well as directors of military companies working on communication systems, drones, and military space technologies. The EU emphasizes that the pressure will continue until Russia ends this war.
As for Serbia, it'll provide Ukraine with a new package of humanitarian aid, which will be primarily directed toward the medical and energy sectors. Our countries also agreed to accelerate the creation of a free trade zone. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić expressed support for Ukraine in preserving its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and on its path to the European Union.
Serbia supports the UN Charter, which provides for the territorial integrity of all UN members, including Ukraine. As for us, we will continue to support this principled policy. There are no buts when it comes to this issue. We discussed the European path for both Serbia and Ukraine. Ukraine will always have our support on its path to the EU,